Hello everyone, my name is Radio Mike, this is the Inside of My Mind, and I am back, finally. I have not posted in a while, and I sincerely apologize for that, but I'm finally back doing my episode-by-episode reviews of the 2020 reboot of Digimon Adventure, which went on hiatus for some time because of the whole COVID thing, but it is finally back. Episode 4 aired today. I just finished watching it on Crunchyroll, and oh my god, I absolutely loved this. This is just looking to be one of the most nostalgic things of my entire life, and I loved this episode. I loved where the series seems to be going. So let's dive straight into it and talk about what happened in episode 4 of Digimon Adventure 2020, Birdramon SOARS. And it was kind of weird coming back to this finally, because it went for 3 episodes. We got 3 episodes of this show, and it was absolutely awesome, and then suddenly, pretty much unexpectedly, it got cancelled. Well, kind of expectedly, like we sort of expected things were going to change because of COVID, but it was such a shame because I was getting so into it, and I didn't even realize it was back up to where it should be today. So I kind of was caught by surprise. So I'm trying to do this video quite quickly, but essentially Tai has ended up in the digital world, which seems to be pretty similar to the original digital world from the original version of this show. However, one of the things that I just realized throughout this entire episode is just how much better the animation is. And of course you'd expect that the animation would be better 20 years on, as well as like with probably a higher budget now, but this just looks so good. And a lot of the fight scenes that happen in this episode are so much more detailed than the old original first 2 season fight scenes, because a lot of them just used recycled animations every time. It was always sort of one character attacks, then it shows the next character getting hit, then that character attacks. It was never really action-packed. It was really recycled animation, which I never realized as a kid, but going back to watch that now, and I just finished watching 02 for the first time in a very long time, and the animations do get recycled a lot. So it's great seeing a lot of really thought out, action-packed sequences in this with much better animation and just looking so great. Obviously, we now know that this show is not at all a one-to-one retelling of the original series. This is a completely new story with the same character, so it's basically a reboot. It's a full reboot. It's an alternate universe to the original one, and I really like that. I don't think I would have loved to see the exact same thing. I am happy with a completely new story, a completely new universe. I really like that. So Tai immediately sees Sora, one of his friends from school in the digital world. She's somehow made her way there, and she's very confused. Unlike Matt, who we've seen in previous episodes, she clearly has had no experience prior to this with Digimon. So this is her first time experiencing all of this. One of the things I loved, and it's a great way to make this show more modern, is a lot of the characters are using their phones a lot. Like Sora makes a remark that, oh, my phone's not working, which seems to, I don't know, it really brings the series into the modern era, because obviously they wouldn't have had phones in 1999, but now every single kid has a phone. So I think this will be really relatable to kids, and I think this is a great way to bring the series into a completely new light. So this is really, really cool. We see a bunch of Digimon wandering around the world, one of whom is Biyomon, which is like a Brachiosaurus that I don't know, I personally haven't seen this, but I don't know much of like the extended world of Digimon outside of the anime, but it does have a very similar design to Greymon, like the blue stripes and the orange skin, which I thought was really interesting. We also see Stegomon, a lot of dinosaur-themed Digimon in the world so far, which is interesting to me. It's like going into like a Jurassic Park or something like that. All of them, or most of them, are dinosaur themed, which is quite interesting. And one of the things I realized is it feels really lived in this time, as opposed to the first 2 series, well, more so the original series, where almost the only times they would encounter other Digimon is if they were like related to the plot. There weren't usually like just characters and Digimon wandering around the world living like it was a real world. It was always like, oh, this is the monster of the week and we have to defeat it. Or this is a monster relevant to the plot. There was no like, the world didn't really feel lived in that sense. And this is interesting because there's just, you know, other Digimon around who aren't fighting them. They're not relevant to the story. They're just there to make the world feel lived in. And I really, really like that. It just feels so great. The animation's good. The world feels alive. Like it feels like this mysterious foreign world that they're in, which is what it is. There's there's no constant threat necessarily. Well, I guess the second half of the episode changes that, but at the start it feels like this is just a world we're in and we just need to, like, you know, move around it, I suppose. So Tai gets this weird message from the Digivice saying, oh no, he sees it on a wall actually, and it says something like, move to where the light takes you, and the light is shining in the distance to this weird building that we find out a bit more about later. But suddenly, Sneemon, one of the Digimon that did appear in the original 2 series as a like monster of the week kind of character, appears and starts attacking them, and then Sora finds Biyomon, her partner, which seems pretty random at first, but later in the episode, Biyomon says something like, oh, I've been waiting for you, Sora. So it does still feel like there's this destiny, there's this pre-planned thing that these are the children that will meet these creatures, that these are the chosen children. So it does still feel like that's still a plot line running through this. And one of the other interesting things is Tai actually starts fighting and attacking Sneemon with a stick, and we don't usually see the chosen children in any of the anime necessarily, aside from Frontier, when they literally are the Digimon because they transform into them. But we don't usually see them like attacking the Digimon. It's always them sort of hiding, well, not hiding, but, you know, being behind their own Digimon. But Tai's actually fighting with a stick. I guess the only exception to that is Marcus from Savers, which he's a very active fighter and he goes and punches them, which gives Agumon power. So there is that. And I did get sort of vibes of Marcus from Tai in this episode as well, which was really cool. In the meantime, Izzy has found himself in the original like network space, which seems to be a different place to the actual digital world. He's found himself there and he's met Tentamon in the meantime. So we do get introduced to Tentamon, and both Sora and Tai can communicate with Tentamon through the Digivices, which are acting as like these weird Star Wars kind of hologram chatting devices, which is really cool. It's cool they can communicate via video, which in the original they couldn't do that at all. I think in 02, well, I think the Digivice always showed when someone was nearby, but it didn't really give much more information than that. So I think that's really cool. They end up jumping off a cliff, Sora and Tai, into the ocean, or into a rapid river, essentially, to escape from Sneemon, because they don't really have any other choice. And they start sailing down the river in a raft, and at one point Sora seems to put on her original hat from the original series, which maybe I missed that. Maybe she was wearing it the whole time, but I'm pretty sure her revealed design for this show had her wearing a new hat, and then she put on the original blue like helmet she wears in the original series, which I thought was a nice little nod to the show. And they start sailing down the river rapids. For some reason, I kind of thought, because a lot of the second half of this episode was to do with water, I wondered if we'd get Joe and Gomamon, because Joe is obviously, well, Gomamon is obviously the water themed Digimon. I wondered if we get that, but obviously we didn't end up getting that. Then they are attacked by this underwater Digimon. I can't say the name, but I think it's Koelamon or something like that. And basically Agumon digivolves, and there is a new evolution sequence, which is incredible. It is so much more detailed and just cool to watch than any of the original Digivolution sequences. So I really, really liked that sequence, and you see him turn into Greymon, and you get glimpses in it of Koromon as well, which is interesting. Like, it really shows the process of evolution happening. So basically Greymon is taking on Koelamon, and he's diving underwater, which again, like, it just seemed interesting that they were doing a water location for the fight, because it just felt like this was Gomamon's territory. But yeah, Greymon's underwater and doing that. Then Sneemon reappears and starts to attack Biyomon, and essentially Sora is falling through the sky, and Biyomon and her grab hands, and the love or the heart of that situation causes Biyomon to be able to digivolve into Birdramon. We don't get the full evolution sequence for Birdramon though. We just get like a half evolution sequence where she says Birdramon Shinka, and then just becomes Birdramon and uses Meteor Wing, the classic attack, to defeat Sneemon, which was really cool. This whole episode featured a lot of action, a lot of story evolution, I suppose, and it was great. Basically then, Sora looks off into the distance with binoculars to the place they're supposed to go, the place the light guides them, and sees this temple that has statues of Hoemon and a bunch of other of the mega forms of the original Chosen Children, which we did see a little bit of this in the return trailer that we got for the show, where we saw a bunch of all of the megas of the original Chosen Children, and there seems to be some kind of plot thread happening there where these Chosen Children, I think it's something to do with the Chosen Digimon all fought in a war in the past or something like that, because we see Rosemon, Vikemon, all of them, which is great. It suggests we're going to get the megas for the original children as well this time, which is awesome. And they start to fly there on Birdramon's back. Finally, toward the very end of the episode, we see Izzy back in the network space with Tentomon flying him to the digital world. And then suddenly, with absolutely no warning, Waymon comes out and swallows Izzy and Tentomon whole, which reminded me a lot of, Kingdom Hearts fans will know, the sequence when you're flying in the gummy ship and Monstro comes and swallows you whole, and you go and explore the Monstro world. It felt a lot like that. It does seem like from the teaser of the next episode that the next episode will be Izzy focus, which makes sense because like the order of the Chosen Children did tend to go Tai, Matt, Sora, Izzy, Mimi, Joe, TK, Cory. So it's sort of, we are still going sequentially, and that's cool. We're probably going to get Kabuterimon in the next episode and a bit more of the lore. The other thing I just wanted to talk quickly about is how this is definitely moving away from the more ensemble cast and the like trapped in the digital world kind of thing of the first one. You know, we've seen glimpses of Joe and we've seen glimpses of TK and Cory, but they're not here yet. They're not part of the group. This seems to be less about the group dynamic that the first original season was about, and more about focusing on these characters as individuals. And I really like that. It gives each character a bit more of a chance to be developed. Tai is obviously the central character in this. He always was, but there was always still that group dynamic. And also, Matt's absence here is really interesting to me as well. I do think that there may be something going on with Matt, and he may be more of a villain or anti-hero character in this series, which was sort of explored a little bit in the original, but he always was sort of the second in command to Tai. Whereas in this one, it seems like he's off doing his own thing, while the group is all going to meet up together. So I'm really interested to see how this develops. I really do hope we get a lot of development, though, and focus on characters like Joe, who, in my opinion, his relationship with Gomamon was one of the strongest relationships in the original series, so I do hope we see that. Obviously, we've seen glimpses of TK and Cory. I hope they come in soon. I'm really excited. What do you think's going to happen? Ask me any question below because I'd love to answer them. This show is shaping up to be awesome. I'm so glad it's back. My reviews will be back every Sunday. Please subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you on board and watching these reviews every week. I also do a bunch of other videos on video games, movies, TV shows, and things like that. I'm trying to grow a subscriber base, and I really appreciate it if you would subscribe and watch some of my other videos. That would be awesome. So, without further ado, my name's been Radio Mike. This has been The Inside of My Mind. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.
I hold you close the moment last I touch your skin, but I went to run my hand through your hair and I noticed you were attached to string. You were a puppet this whole time, you were attached to string. You were a puppet this whole time.